Phoenix Concussion Recovery Podcast. My name is Nick Mercer, and now I will turn this podcast over to Lauren Ziaks of Phoenix Concussion Recovery. Okay, I'm on the phone now with Lauren, and she's going to discuss the link between exercise and concussion. So, Lauren, please.
Hi, thanks for having me here. Again, my name's Lauren Ziaks. I'm a physical therapist at Wasatch Physical Therapy in Park City, Utah, and I'm the president of Phoenix Concussion Recovery. And our most important part is our Return to Life in Sport Exercise Recovery Portal, which you can access on our website, phoenixconcussionrecovery.com. So I want to start off with talking about the latest science about why you should be exercising every day. And this is whether you were concussed 3 days ago or whether you were concussed a year ago and you've been having trouble getting back into exercise and feeling crummy. The first thing I want to talk about is GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter, so basically a currency that we use inside of our head, and that's what makes our different neurons or phone lines talk to each other that are in our brain. GABA is really important for anxiety and depression, which is unfortunately highly correlated with the TBI population or the concussion population. So it's specifically really good for the kids who don't do well with the anxiety medications that are available, which are called SSRIs, and you may or may not be familiar with those. So if we can increase GABA naturally, we can actually decrease anxiety in our patients who have head injuries and also have issues with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. What they found is that causing an increase in this GABA currency, or this token, actually will cause a calming effect inside of our brain. They found that at higher intensities, so at 85% of your heart rate max for only 8 to 20 minutes, you can have the greatest impact. And this can be tough for the concussion population because you guys aren't supposed to start at 85% of your heart rate max. You're supposed to start slow and then build up. But if you're far out from your concussion and you're struggling with your anxiety and your depression, you can go ahead and apply some of this science and try to do short bursts of activity at a higher intensity. You should find that you get that relief or that feeling better after you exercise. Anxiety and depression are linked to a decrease in this GABA token or this GABA currency that our brain uses. And they're also really looking at something called glutamate. So if you're looking at concussion research and you're trying to figure out what you should be doing, glutamate and GABA are two of the big ones that you're going to see. Exercise causes these neurotransmitters to be released in our brain, and they think that that's actually part of why people are crashing when they are exercising too much at too great of an intensity early on. So if you've ever had that experience, it's early on after your concussion, you work out really hard, and then all of a sudden you just feel completely wasted or tired, exhausted. What they think, these guys over at UCLA think is happening, is that your brain is actually building neurotransmitters with this extra energy as you're exercising. And building all these extra pieces is too taxing for your brain. And so that's what makes you tired and makes you crash. So you really want to think about progressive exercise. And we'll talk about that later on today in our recommendations. What's really interesting is that they found that GABA is used the most in your visual cortex, so what you do for your eyes and how we learn, your anterior cingulate cortex, so basically what regulates our heart rate, our cognitive function, our thinking, and our emotions, which is why it has to do with anxiety and depression. And then it also works on our hippocampus, so again, regulating anxiety and stress. So these are really important areas of our brain that we can affect just by doing the appropriate kind of exercise. Okay? We can also talk about BDNF, which is a new one that they're really talking about right now in brain injuries. It's specific to concussion, and we need BDNF for long-term memory. So BDNF in all of our brains all the time is keeping our neurons alive. So the things that make our brain work stay alive because of this BDNF factor. It helps us to grow and create new neurons in our brain. So when you're doing therapy to make your eyes work better, or you're doing therapy to help with your memory, if you exercise targeting this BDNF, you can actually improve the outcomes of your therapy. Or at least that's what they're trying to prove right now with research. They found that this BDNF is used the most in areas that affect learning and cognition, or our ability to think. So again, really important for these concussion people. They think that this might be a big piece of how we get you guys to feel better. The research is finding that BDNF is affected best when you initially rest, which is consistent with all of the new recommendations. You should be resting for the first 24 to 72 hours, and then you start to exercise, and your BDNF will actually increase in your brain. Now, in the concussed population, this is still only being researched in animal models, okay? We can infer this information from human models used in the elderly population, people with diagnoses like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, but for the concussed specific, it's still in the animal model stage of research. So what this means is we should really think about adding in visual and cognitive or thinking tasks to our exercise. And what that will do is it'll increase this BDNF throughout our whole brain. So if I'm using my eyes and I'm increasing my heart rate at the same time, I'm actually going to get better connections throughout my brain, and I'm going to get more bang for my buck when I exercise. So we're going to talk about what in the world we should actually do.
So what is all this like BDNF and GABA? What does all this mean for people? What should they do? What would you recommend with this? How does this help people?
Yeah, sure. So what they should most importantly do right after their head injury, and we have two different buckets of people that this podcast can help. One is I got injured yesterday, and one is I got injured 2 years ago and I'm still struggling, right? You want to start slow no matter where you are in the process. If you just got injured, you want to make sure that you rest, because this research is finding these really important factors are actually negatively impact if you exercise too early. So you want to get that 48, 72 hours of rest, and then we want to get back into early exercise right away. Long-term rest can actually negatively impact us. They found that increased anxiety and depression, which makes sense now because we know that GABA is released when we exercise, right? So it's important to exercise. If you haven't been exercising for a long time, you've been injured for a while, you've been resting, you're feeling crummy, you want to start really slow because you're not going to be where you were before. I just talked to a kid that's 10 years old about this the other day, and he was upset that we said, you can't get right back into swim team. You're even Lance Armstrong, if he took 2 months off, he wouldn't be where Lance Armstrong was 2 months ago, right? So you have to start relative to where you are based on your deconditioning. And then you want to do progressive exercise. So what Phoenix's program does is it has a phased program going from phase 1 through phase 5. Phase 5 is when you can return to sport, when your doctor or your healthcare provider approves it. And then phases 6 and 7 are just more intense exercise programs for people who aren't in a sport environment. For when you're using Phoenix, if you're trying to build up your endurance, you can actually repeat phases a couple of times a week, and that'll help you to increase your strength, your cardio endurance, and that will help you get back to your prior level of function, as opposed to just using it as a means to get back to sport. I know I'm going to do phase 1 today, phase 2 tomorrow, and hope that my provider clears me after phase 5 kind of thing. What would be really important is if you actually add cognition or thinking tasks and coordination tasks to your exercise. So there's been some really cool studies, especially in the elderly population or people with neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, where they found that ballroom dancing or taekwondo actually really improves these memory areas and these cognitive areas of our brain. So if you're a younger person and you don't want to go ballroom dancing, you could work on your sports drills, right? So a sports drill, like a throwing and a passing drill or dribbling skills in soccer, require us to use our brain at the same time. They require coordination. They require multiple body movements at once. And so you could get the same effect. Or if you're a 30-year-old female and you want to go to Zumba class, that would also get you your coordination and your multiple body part activation and your thinking, right? So don't think about, I just need to go for a run every day, and don't think about, I just want to lift weights and I don't want to do anything else. If you really want to optimize your recovery, you'll add in these extra pieces and you'll get more bang for your buck. Your brain will be working better. You'll have more of these neurotransmitters available to you, and you're going to start feeling better sooner. The one thing that we'll do is if you're doing a balance exercise, we'll have you say the alphabet backwards, starting at Z, or we'll have you add by 3, so 3, 6, 9. Or maybe you could do an I Spy game while you're running, or run with a friend and have a conversation the whole time and talk about different things. Those are all cognitive tasks that add an extra piece to your exercise that's better than just getting on the elliptical by yourself and that's the only thing that you're doing. Does that make sense?
It does. So,
and then
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. So if we add in these visual and these cognitive tasks, what we find is that, again, these neurotransmitters are spread out more throughout your brain. So instead of just getting one section of your brain, we actually get multiple areas of communication. This will grow new connections. It will make our old connections stronger. And it will actually make our cognitive skills, we'll do better on our homework. This is why in the kids with ADD, they talk about letting them do short bursts of activity before a test because they perform better. So what we found is that if you let them do these short bursts of activity, the chemicals in their brain that affect their ability to concentrate and think actually work better. And so then they do better on their tests. So if you're someone who's got some ADD symptoms ever since your head injury and you're struggling in school, plan your day so that you can do your 20-minute workout of moderate to vigorous activity before you go to school. And you'll get this carryover effect throughout the rest of the day where your brain is going to function better than if you wait until the end of the day and you only exercise at night. So we're recommending at least 20 minutes a day of moderate to vigorous exercise. But what would be even better is if you did a comprehensive exercise program, like something like Phoenix has to offer, where you're actually getting about 45 to 60 minutes of balance, strength, flexibility, and cardio all together, and we're targeting all these different aspects of your brain.
Well, great. So how would people find what website should they go to find your Phoenix Recovery, these graduated steps? What is your address?
If you go over to phoenixconcussionrecovery.com, right on the home page, there's a blue button that says, Return to Life in Sport. And we would love for you to explore the free areas of our website. There's all kinds of information about therapy options you should be looking for in your area, different information about supplements, early recommendations, and then the paid portion of our site is our Return to Sport program. It's $9.99 for 1 month, and you can use it as much as you want in that month. If you're using it for building endurance and strength and you're not necessarily looking to get back to sport, you could always renew your subscription every month and just keep using us. If you're using it just to get back to sport, it shouldn't take you more than a month to get through the program. So we prefer that you go back to your healthcare provider if it takes you more than a month to successfully move through the program.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks, Lauren. And those articles that you mentioned earlier, they're UC Davis and University of Georgia, you said, and UCLA?
Yep. UCLA, and then some of it was inferred from a lot of the research that's available for the elderly population and for people with these neurodegenerative diseases, and then also from this new article by Ziaks et al. It's just published in 2017, and they're looking at how the title of the article is Exercise Training Increases the Size of Hippocampus and Improves Memory. So it's a brand new article that's out there. So there's some really exciting things going on right now that are proving to our patients you need exercise every day for at least 20 to 40 minutes, and doing something every day will cause some form of benefit. So if you just want the down and dirty nitty gritty, get out there and go for a brisk walk for 20 minutes. You'll at least get some benefit from that, and you'll get some mood enhancing from that without any chemicals.
Great. Well, thanks so much, and and we'll obviously have another podcast soon. Talk about what we don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
Thanks you.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you for listening. As always, music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.